Guys with the EPA over here just got furloughed.
Yeah.
Good evening. I call this October 30th, 2025 Morris Hill Town Council work session to order. We have two discussion items followed by a closed session this evening. This time we have a number of our council members who are on their way. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson is expected soon, and Councilmember Tam Garamella and Councilmember Rao are expected at about 7 p.m. We're going to go ahead and get started with our first discussion item. That's Superlative Group Sponsorship Agreement. I'll ask John Letney and Aaron Hudson to join us at the table to begin this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is a continuation of the session we had during your regular meeting on October 28th, just a couple days ago, where you received the Phase 1 overview report from representatives of the Superlative Group. And for those who may be watching now or in the future, as a reminder, the Superlative Group is our contract organization that has been doing valuation of the town's assets and amenities for the purposes of developing a sponsorship and naming rights protocol process and so on. At your April 22nd meeting, you had consensus around entering into what they call a Phase 1 agreement. That Phase 1 is to do the valuation report and then to report back. They did that again at your meeting the other night. We will present a little bit of information for you to bring the conversation back full circle. And then we will ask you to look at Phase 2 and Phase 3 of that agreement, which in essence is the sales part of that agreement. And with that, so from May, so again, April was when we entered into the Phase 1 agreement. From that time, we worked closely with the Superlative Group representatives on the asset inventory and valuation. So this would be the things that would be appropriate for sponsorship and or naming rights. So most of our parks, our greenways, our amenities that would fit for this. And it's not every park, it's not every shelter, just because some of them don't fit their metric. We provided quite a bit of documentation to them about usage and about events and crowds and estimates of drive-by and walk-through traffic and those kind of things. Two of their representatives came here to Morrisville in July and did about a day and a half of a site visit where we showed them all of the amenities, answered their questions. They met with staff and some other folks to understand not only what the amenity was, but the intrinsic value that our park system and our greenways has to our community. And from that, they took all of that information and did a quantitative and then a separate qualitative assessment. From those assessments and in their experience in doing this kind of valuation really around the country, they have a fairly scientific metric by which they can put a value on all of those things. And again, that was that Phase 1 valuation report you received the other night. And that was the presentations on the initial findings again. Next slide. So this evening, what we would like to discuss really are the benefits, the costs, and then again, the approval to Phase 2 and Phase 3. And with that, I'll turn it over to Aaron Hudson, our Director of Communications and Outreach.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Mayor and council members, for giving us a few minutes with you here again tonight. So I won't belabor what John said, but just want to sort of reiterate that the presentation that the Superlative folks gave on Tuesday it is worth reiterating that their process, their methodology is sound and is a qualitative and quantitative process to evaluate and assign value to assets. They have broad range of experience in municipal asset valuation. They have some experience here in this region with some nearby communities as well. So they are familiar with not only what they've learned about Morrisville, but also some of our regional partners. Then working with that detail that they gather, they then can take that information back out to potential sponsors, and they know how to showcase alignment with the town and with those assets to really highlight the best, highest mutual benefit to both the sponsor and to the town. So any future sponsorship or naming rights partnership would be considered an economic development investment for the town. It would be facilitated through that partnership with the superlative group, similar to what we have experienced with the addition of our economic development director on staff. The caveat is we don't have someone to do that work like we have an economic development director. That's really where the benefit of partnering with the superlative group for these next couple of phases would be critical and crucial to being able to continue what has been started there. So quickly, just to highlight some of the costs, I know that there was some discussion of the cost back at your conversation in April. In your current agreement, if council gives consensus for staff to move forward to phases 2 and 3, the cost going forward would be a retainer of $5,000 per month, plus a 15% commission of any sponsorship income. Theoretically, there is opportunity for one sponsorship valued at $35,000 to recoup that monthly retainer fee. So there's some intrinsic opportunity there, sort of right out of the gate. With this being a new opportunity to explore potential revenues, staff has discussed and is prepared to establish an internal fund that would allow us to track any funds that would be received, and then do some evaluation of how those expenditures would then be allocated or invested on a case-by-case basis. Again, we've not gone too far down that path because this is a new opportunity, and we don't want to commit to something that we don't have in place just yet. But we have already started to think about how we may be able to approach those opportunities if so authorized. Just a reminder again that this is economic development investment opportunity, so details should not be disclosed or discussed outside of the public domain because it is proprietary information. So again, your current agreement does require staff to notify the superlative group in writing if the town wishes to move forward with phases 2 and 3 of the agreement. So at this time, we would like to open up for discussion or any additional questions or comments that you all might have. And the ask tonight is if council would provide consensus to the town manager to authorize the superlative group to move forward with phases 2 and 3 of the agreement. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson had hers up first, and then Councilmember Fender.
First of all, apologies for being late. Mayor, you want to recognize that I have joined the meeting?
Yeah, I was waiting for them to be done.
Okay, great.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the great summary of where we are today and what our responsibilities as a council is for today so that we can kind of ensure that we focus on this conversation. My questions relate to the scope of the service that is being offered by Superlative and the duration of the agreement. I know that we're talking tonight about phases 2 and 3, but and there's an annual carrying cost of $5,000, which you've disclosed tonight. Is there a term of, for the contract that is being proposed at this time? Is it a 3-year contract? Is it a 1-year contract? What is the term of this contract? And then with the 15%, you know, is that 15% regardless if we have a contract with them any further, that they would still have rights to that 15% for the duration of maybe a sponsorship that has been awarded to an entity?
So the term of the contract for phase 2 and 3 will be 12 months, and it could be extended if we so choose to do so and go on into future years. The contract that they would negotiate for sponsorship or naming rights, they would earn a commission of 15% on that contract. So if that contract is 1 year, it's 15% for that 1 year. If it's a 10-year term, then it's 15% for, you know, each year for the 10 years. There also is a caveat to that we had them include, is that if we brought them the potential sponsor through our contacts, and they did the work, the sales, the contract negotiation, all that kind of stuff, their fee would be reduced to 7.5%.
Okay, so it's a matter of who's the finder of this entity, kind of thing, 15 versus 7.5. The other question I have is, you know, events might be an opportunity for sponsorships. We currently have many events. So is it the council policy to determine which events might be in scope of this agreement? Or I'd like to be very clear about what events may or may not be included, or how an event could be considered for part of this agreement, because we have so many events and different levels of sponsorship that we collect today. I want to ensure that we allow for the flexibility of finding and small businesses offering to participate in events without having a barrier such as this agreement.
So their work would, around events, would generally be centered around the large events. There's not really a value to their work and expertise and all the other thing that goes into this for some of our smaller events. So in their valuation, they have determined a value based on the size of the event, and we're talking 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people or more, which are very large events. We also have discussed with them that we do hold a lot of other events and smaller events, and events where we want our local businesses to be able to participate, be part of this, but not enter into a 10-year agreement or even a 5-year agreement, where it'd be the local business that may call us and say, hey, can we have a table? Can we have a booth? Can we put up a sign? So we have written that out of the conversation as far as what they would do, and staff would continue to handle that as we do now.
So that'd be a carve out, really. I mean, some
Yes.
businesses just started yesterday and they don't.
Exactly.
They don't know if they're going to be here next week, kind of thing, yeah.
Right, and some of those we just may provide a space for, depending on, you know, what it is and how it aligns with the event and the town's vision and our strategic plan and so on. And others may be nominal fees. It may be a food truck. It may be another vendor that's selling something where we have some nominal fee. And all of that is outside of this concept and this process and this agreement.
So as far as our policy goes, then, do we specify tactics in the policy, like signage, you know, posters, T-shirts, that kind of thing? Would that be part of a policy decision? Because those are specific tactics.
So council has approved a sponsorship and naming rights policy earlier this year, which governs most of the smaller events and these things we're talking about now. When it comes to things like specific signage and what is part of evaluation, what may be part of a sponsorship, those are things that would be negotiated with the potential sponsor. And what they saw the value based on their business model for the opportunity. So if it's sponsoring an event, or if it's sponsoring a park or part of the Greenway Trail, they'll have an idea of what value that provides to their business and what enhances that. So maybe it's signage, maybe it's social media that we partner with, maybe it's something else. So all of that would be worked out in a contract rather than having a policy specific to it.
So let me be clear. For some of our larger entities that have significant either participation as an event or we've invested a lot of municipal dollars into our parks, I would like to know what tactics are being considered for those parks as a council member, because I know that this entity has some ideas, But this is reputational risk for us, and also we do not have currently anything in place. So at least for the foreseeable time, it would be good to understand and appreciate and have some feedback, because I don't want our town entities to be looked like NASCAR jerseys, because it could easily be considered too much. And if we enter into long-term contracts, that becomes a dissatisfaction opportunity. So I do appreciate the expertise that we don't have here on staff, but I caution the tactics. And we need to better understand as a council what might be good outward facing, because we do work with the public on a regular basis.
And those are excellent points, and it is our expectation that staff would work very closely with their representatives as these contracts get discussed, and nothing would be finalized until staff agree to it. And we make sure that it's, it's a proper business, and it's not something we want to align ourselves with.
Now, let me be clear. I trust staff, but I want to know
Understand.
what is going on, because we have never had this. This is a very first time kind of thing, and we don't know what we don't know, and there's downstream effects to these agreements. We have to be aware of them. It's a reputational risk for the town, and we are looking not just at operational, but we're looking at a policy. And I really need more dialogue about the policy, not just a go-get-em kind of thing. It is very important to me to make sure that.
I certainly understand that. And my point in discussing the staff involvement is that we will know, and then we can report that to you and have those conversations, either in general or specific to that contract, to make sure that you're aware of it, you're comfortable with
And we can
it.
do a closed session, because I
Sure.
know this is sensitive with
Yes.
economic development, but it's just, I don't have a level of comfort, because there was such a lot of information to digest, and I think the other members of the council need to digest and understand that, appreciate it. Okay.
Understood.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fender, then Councilmember Johnson, then Councilmember Rabati.
Yeah, can you review for everyone what phase 2 and phase 3 are? Because the slide from the April presentation just is one and they're all together, phase 2 and 3. So what differentiates those two phases?
So as currently stated in the agreement that you have, phases 2 and 3 are the strategic sales campaign. So that's where if council authorizes the town manager to give written notice to proceed, that's where the superlative team would take the information that they gathered and valued in the phase 1 process and essentially start exploring the market and see where there may be some alignment and some businesses or entities that would want to begin putting their names and their sponsorship dollars with town assets and entities.
Okay, what is phase 2 and what is phase 3?
So phase 2 consists of, from their materials, development of sales materials, pipeline development, initial outreach, prospect follow-up, in-person meetings and site visits, of course, monthly reporting to the town, negotiate sponsorship agreements. Phase 3 then consists of contract draft and redlining, socializing pending agreements, activation and implementation.
Okay. And then, the last question I had was, with regards to events, we said, that they would, what's in their scope are larger events, but in our contract to them or in our agreement, are we gonna list specifically which events those are? Like, is it the July 3rd, Diwali?
It's not in the specific agreement, because that would be a conversation with staff. And then we would determine which one really fits their model. And we could even come back to council and say, is there something you want included or you want excluded from those? And we can factor that in. So it's, while the agreement is specific, this is a partnership. It's a collaboration with them working on our behalf. So I imagine there's going to be some robust conversations around that and other related topics.
Okay, I'm still a little confused as to when in the process will Superlative and the town council come back and discuss which events are in scope and which events are not in scope?
So that's not defined yet, and we can certainly do that and come back to you with their idea or how they've done it in the past, and see if that's acceptable, or if you have other ideas of how you want to be involved in that or informed of that.
Yeah,
I think if I may, real quickly, one of the things we discussed on Tuesday night was that we would come back to you because there's going to need to be, amendments to and advancement of the policy that's in place now to address some of this. And then also opportunities to talk more about bringing you some options of here's what you might consider, here's what you might not want to support, here's what you might want to see sponsorship. And that'll help us build that. And I think to John's point, avoiding specific, because those can change over time. So I think it's more about threshold of what reaches to their point of this would be worth us pursuing something for you versus you really should do that yourselves because we don't need them to do that, if that makes sense. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that, Brandon, because that's helpful. So I'm gonna kind of jump on this bandwagon of being, this is first time out. Obviously, we have concerns and questions as we move through the process. So I would suggest that this be a retreat topic, that we revisit the sponsorship policy, because I think since we've adopted the sponsorship policy, we've now entered into this conversation. We all are a little more informed and a little more sure or not sure of how we want to proceed. And so I think it might be a really good opportunity to revisit the sponsorship policy before we just kind of let Superlative loose. And so having said that too, I don't want to sell every asset in town and every event in town. I mean, I think I'm worried that becomes too much. So I do think we need to have a conversation about what we, as a because council's not going to be talking to Superlative. You all are. And so I think we as a council need to talk with you staff to say, here's what we can tolerate and here's what we can't. And I think we need to have that conversation so that when you all are talking with Superlative, you have a clearer idea of how comfortable we are or not. And right now, we're not comfortable, clearly, and I'm not sure I am either. That's not to say I don't want to go down this path. I understand having the representatives from Superlative here helped me a lot, because I was one of those skeptics a couple of months ago when we had this conversation. So having them here gave me a little bit more comfort as we move forward. I understand their expertise that they have that we don't. And so I think to enter into an agreement, especially if it's only going to be a 12-month agreement, so that we can all evaluate and they can evaluate, and then we can decide where to move forward. I like that idea. So, I made a couple of notes. I want to make sure I go through all of them. I just want to be clear on I get the 15%, the 7.5%, but that is definitely, we're going to have separate sponsorship opportunities here through staff that will not be affected by this 7.5%. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that.
Yeah, so the smaller events and the local businesses, those kind of things, that's not something that they get into, and nor does that kind of fit their model. That's something that fits well with us. We've been doing that for a long time. We will continue to do that, and those things will happen outside of this agreement.
Yeah, and I heard the term carve out, so that I just want to reiterate it, because I think that's really important to me as well, to
Yes.
make sure that those smaller opportunities are still handled by staff and, the public and the smaller businesses, and they have that opportunity. Okay, I guess that's all. Yeah, and I'm just going to repeat again, this reputational risk is a little important, not a little, it's a lot
It's a lot.
important. Yeah, it's a lot important. And so I think that's why, and I will be honest, I have not looked, and I should have looked back at our sponsorship policy, and maybe that, there's something in there that will give me that comfort about reputational risk, because I can't remember what we put in there. I mean, not everybody that's out there in the world, we want as a sponsor here in the town of Mooresville. So how are we dealing with that?
So there is some language in there about what business types that we would not engage for that very reason. And to your point, though that policy has been in place for a while, but it really wasn't designed with this concept in mind.
That's right.
And so it does need tweaking. Erin and I have talked about that and coming up with what it is that we need to either add to that or revise it. And to your point, we want you to be confident in this, and we want you to understand it. And having that conversation where we can get your direction helps us when we're sitting down with them and talking about specific opportunities.
So back to my original point then, I think we need to revisit as a council, as a group, revisit that policy and make sure we are still comfortable and remember what's in there and then, and that has the guardrails that maybe we want as a council, so.
Yeah, and our thought is that policy needs to be revised anyway.
Yeah.
It was in place for a while. It was good for what it was doing.
That's right.
This is a whole different concept, and it needs to be either overlaid with it or kind of factored in. So that's going to take a rewrite of the policy, which we would bring back to you anyway.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
So, excuse me, I do agree with everything that's been said, but I also think that some of these concerns were addressed in the presentation on Tuesday. For example, the overselling of the town assets, I felt was pretty well addressed by the concept of the category sponsorships, where, like, what does it mean to be a healthcare sponsorship of a healthcare sponsor of Morrisville? What does it mean to be a financial sponsor of Morrisville? And when they talked about that, they did specifically mention that we don't want to get oversubscribed and we don't want corporate logos on everything in town. So it seems to me that they were pretty sensitive to that concern, especially in such a small town. And then the other thing was, I thought that they were pretty clear about the 3 tiers of events and the 3 levels of sponsorship. And they said that they would mainly be in the large events rather than medium or small, and they would mainly be in the tier 1 sponsor level rather than tier 2 and tier 3. So to me, that leaves an awful lot of gray area where if a small business wants to participate, like it seems, actually, to me, it seems like most event sponsorships would be left up to staff. And we would mainly be looking to Superlative for, would you like to be the platinum sponsor of Diwali? Things like that. So, not that I disagree with anything that's been said here, but I do feel like these are concerns that Superlative came to us already cognizant of. And it seemed like they, I thought that they did a pretty good job of anticipating that and getting out in front of it. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. And if you remember from the conversation, Superlative has been in the business 3+ decades or so. And they have, they've done a variety of work in this type of field, but they have really kind of honed down their business model towards working with municipalities. And they work with small towns, large towns, cities, and so on across the country, transit organizations and so on. So they are very sensitive and respectful of the fact that a municipal sponsorship is different than a corporate one, and that we have to factor all these things in that you all are rightfully concerned with.
Mayor Cole?
I just share that I think Superlative did a good job and staff has done a really good job bringing everything together. And I'm looking forward to just moving forward with this because I think we're going to learn by doing. As was mentioned, this is our first time through. So there'll be some bumps and stuff like that, but this is another great revenue stream. And reputational risk is definitely something to keep in mind. And I think we'll have some good guardrails around that. You know, we'll have good sponsors and good people in our town helping us move forward. And so it looks like a win-win to me.
Thank you. So I'm hearing consensus to move forward in phase 2 and 3, understanding your concerns and your desire for us to come back with a draft policy, and then also information, and again, maybe in a closed session if that's appropriate, based upon specific opportunities to make sure it aligns with your vision.
Yes.
What's that? Okay. All right, thank you all. I appreciate your review of all this and your feedback. Manager?
And I apologize if I didn't hear this, but you're comfortable with signing this agreement with the knowledge and understanding that the first things to work on are a policy. Nothing moves forward until you're comfortable with what we're moving forward. So make sure I heard that from you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item for discussion is Town Council Roundtable. I'd like to ask Giselle Rodriguez, Deputy Town Manager, to help facilitate this discussion.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Glad to be with you again. So we have 4 items submitted for roundtable, new items submitted for roundtable. Councilmember Rao is not here, so his is actually the last one. If he arrives before we complete roundtable, then we will go over his. But the first one we have submitted is Councilmember Rabati. Councilmember Rabati, would you like to describe your item and present it to the rest of the council? Let me go
Yes,
ahead
I
and make
would
this a
like
little bigger.
I was canvassing and a constituent told me that they wanted some benches in front of the senior center. However, Councilmember Johnson forwarded me a picture showing me that there are indeed 2 benches in front of the senior center. So I don't know why that person doesn't know they're there, but I think we can mark this one closed. I mean, unless with the expansion, like obviously if there's another door, I'd like to see some more out there, but yeah, I don't think there's anything to do here.
Yeah, so I'm confused too, because I sit on those benches.
Yeah.
I've been out there plenty of times talking on the phone on those benches, and I will tell you, they're placed really strategically behind 2 trees, so that in the summer, because I'm there in the summer and it's nice and shady, and then in the winter, the leaves come down and you can sit in the sun. So I'm confused myself.
Yeah, I'll be 100% honest with you. The person said it to me. I immediately logged it as a roundtable item because I thought if there are no benches there, there really should be, and immediately forgot about it. So we can mark this one closed. Thank you.
If you have the contact information about this individual, we can reach out to the individual
Okay.
to understand their
Thanks.
concern. Okay, the next 2 were submitted by Mayor Colley.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. So I'd like the council to consider moving forward and investigating what it would mean to add the Rotary emblem to Morrisville's entrance monuments. That would just be the 2 large ones. This would visibly affirm our town's commitment to service, integrity, and civic engagement. Sends the clear message that Morrisville is a place where community matters and leadership is shared. The Rotary is an international organization and well-respected for its civic engagement. So I think that this would be a positive win-win. And we have a number of members of our staff as well who are members of the Rotary. And I just think that this would help us be part of a global network. One of the things which is great about the Rotary, if you go into a town, even in another country, you're welcome to those Rotary meetings. So this would let people know as they're entering our town that there is a Rotary and they are welcome, as we are a welcoming and inclusive community. Does anyone have any questions about this? Councilmember Strong Johnson?
I think Liz was up first, actually.
That's
I
fine.
apologize.
It's fine, it's fine. Yep, it's fine.
Councilmember Johnson. Hello. So thank you for bringing this item forward, TJ. I do believe the Rotary does provide really strong community service and, a lot of their work helps our extended community, not just in Morrisville, but, you know, it filters over into Cary, which is our strong neighbors. And members of the Morrisville Rotary are from both Cary and Morrisville as well. I'm hesitant, though, to add an emblem of any organization to the town monuments other than the town of Morrisville. We have other good organizations that also have done an extreme amount of work for the community that are also international. And I don't feel comfortable picking one. Maybe there's a way that we can profile some of the other community organizations, including the Rotary, in a respectful way that highlights the awareness that these organizations exist. It could be a separate signage that we have offering, you know, the welcome kind of thing. But on monuments, I really feel like that needs to be standalone. But, you know, there's alternates like, you know, our street lights have banners. There might be an opportunity to have a banner. And we just talked about sponsorships too. And nonprofits are not necessarily sponsorships, but it's analogous to recognizing good work in the community. So I like the fact that you're thinking about acknowledging and being inclusive of organizations that help partner with us. It's just this specific one on a town monument I'm not in favor of at this time. Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson?
So, okay, thank you, ditto. So I understand, first of all, the Rotary does an incredible job, not only here, but internationally. I just want to say that I understand that and value them greatly. I guess the goal here is to highlight the Rotary. I'm trying to understand what you want to, you're presenting a solution. So I want to understand what the goal is, and then let's talk about options to meet that goal. So repeat one more time what the goal is, just to highlight that the Rotary is here in the town of Morrisville? Is
Yeah,
that?
to make that easily known. I mean, I think where I grew up in Larchmont, New York, there was a Lions Club, Civitas, lots of things.
Yep.
And we didn't really have an entrance monument. There was just a big thing with lots of U channels, and all these different emblems were there when you were entering the town. So that sort of showed that there was a lot of things going on, lots of opportunities for people to be engaged in
Yep.
the town. And out and about is where people are. So that would be a place to do it. There might be other opportunities on the web or something like that. We generally don't do that unless it's a town organization though. So I'm open to any kind of ideas. This is just something that I've seen in lots of other towns. So I was just wondering if we'd be interested in doing it as well.
So, okay, thank you for that, because, yeah, I am used to seeing, not on town monuments, but a separate sign that lists all the nonprofit organizations in a town. I will tell you, I think those nonprofits paid for that position on those signs, so that's a whole nother ballgame about how we financially deal with that. But, yeah, I'm not comfortable with town, and I'm not even sure what you meant by entrance monuments. I mean, I wanted to be clear on
Yes,
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for this case, my first thought was that we have one on Chapel Hill Road, right across from Park Place, our big one. That's like on our website and stuff. And then the one at Morrisville Carpenter in Davis. I think of those as our
Okay.
two
Okay.
monuments
Yeah.
to the town.
Okay.
So those, but I'm open to anything, like the whole idea of it not being actually on the monument, but nearby. It's fine. I mean, we have entrances to town. You're now entering Morrisville all over the place. We're not going to do it everywhere. So this is a good discussion.
So I'm going to reiterate what Councilmember Scroggins Johnson said too about that. We have a lot of nonprofits that do incredible work here that physically meet here, and some don't meet here, but that do good work for our citizens. So I think we need to think about where we're headed when we go down this kind of path. But yeah, that's all I have right now.
Councilmember Rabati?
Are there any local precedents for this? Do Apex or Cary or like Raleigh, what do the surrounding communities do? How do they recognize nonprofits?
So that would be something that we would ask staff to investigate. That's not really, this is just kind of bringing it up. So if we want to know that, that would be something that comes out of this roundtable.
I mean, I'd be interested in ways that we can recognize the nonprofits that do good work here, for sure. I mean, the Morrisville Fund is just one of the ways that we do that. But yeah, I mean, I think that we need some more discussion. I'm not in favor of emblems on the monuments for all the reasons stated, but I do think that it's a good idea to recognize nonprofits that are doing really good work here.
Okay?
Councilmember Frenda?
Yeah, my question was gonna be similar to what Councilmember Rabati is, just if you had examples from surrounding communities. I was just looking online here, trying to Google images for Holly Springs and Apex, and I don't see examples, but I think I'd want to see an example of what that looks like before I be in favor of it.
So,
I mean, is that something though that, I mean, it seems like that's something you would already know if you're thinking about this. Have you seen it in for other towns?
I saw it growing up, and I think Garner has something like that.
But have you
and
seen it
Nightdale.
closer to here?
I was just bringing up the idea. I didn't do that level of homework. That would be something that I think of as the staff. If we want to look more into this, would it be a policy? How could we recognize nonprofits, other organizations within the town? How do nearby towns do that? That's kind of the purpose of the roundtable, is to see if there's interest in having staff look into it, rather than a council member solutioning, as was mentioned. I came right with the solution, which
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah, you
the
did.
goal.
And that's why I'm thinking, I mean, to make it easier for the rest of us, if you, not to direct staff to go do the research, but if you were around town and you took pictures yourself of something you saw that you envisioned, then that would be easier for the other council members to agree or disagree.
I hear you. That wasn't the steps I took this time. So that's good feedback for next.
I mean, just saying, look, if Nightdale and Garner are doing it, I would consider that to be local municipalities. I mean, I would like to see some examples of Garner.
Well, that was just my
I said I would
recollection.
like to see some examples if there are any. You know, I don't think like Garner and Nightdale are too far away to be relevant examples.
So, to alter the goal of this, is council interested in asking staff to look into ways to recognize nonprofits and other organizations that operate within the town or benefit the town, and looking into how other towns in Wake County maybe do that? So we're not talking about putting something on a monument, it's sort of like what would be the next step to recognize nonprofits and organizations that benefit the town?
Councilmember Johnson?
So I hesitate because I don't know that that's their role right just yet. I think why don't you do some more work and come back with some more information about, I mean, why should they have to go look and see what other towns are doing? Because clearly this is of interest to you. So I would ask you to do that. I mean, I think I'm following up on what Councilmember Fender said too.
Okay, I guess we have a different understanding of what the roundtable's purpose is.
So, TJ, if I may, I do believe the roundtable's purpose is to bring up ideas, but this kind of topic, we want maybe some concrete examples. And I know that you have an extensive network with people from other communities in our Wake County delegation. If you could find out more information to help, jumpstart that, and then maybe come back to another roundtable and just kind of share with us a little more about what your discovery was, I think that would be so helpful to all of us.
Okay,
And also, I mean, that might turn up some other ideas. Like, I like the idea of the, like even like on a rotating basis, nonprofits that are doing work in Morrisville up on the banners on the light, because I love that. I mean, I think that's something that we could be doing already. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea, but I would like it to be just a little bit more fleshed out.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on any of these signs for Gardner, Nightdale. Gardner says, where was it? Home of American Idol, Scott and Carrie.
You're very proud of him.
Yeah, we don't have singers.
But I don't see Kiwanis or Rotary Club.
or Lions Club or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I will do some homework on that. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. You can roll into your next item.
Okay,
I'll scroll the page.
that's too, oh, I can read that, that's big enough. Okay, so I was driving back from Asheville and,
You need to make
So-
it bigger? Is that good?
yep, and I saw a little sign on the side of the road that indicated that it was a certified entrepreneurial community on one of the towns around there. And as we're really good at being accredited in lots of different ways, this would be a way to perhaps demonstrate how we're very engaged with our entrepreneurial community, trying to grow small businesses and things like that. So this would be something that is asking staff to look into whether or not it would be maybe a valid thing to pursue, how much resources it would take, because any kind of accreditation takes staff resources. So is this something that we might be interested in taking a look at to demonstrate our support for small businesses?
I think this is a really low-lift way to demonstrate that support. Because I think that the Certified Entrepreneurial Community Program, I mean, I don't pretend to know what's involved in that, but just to ask staff to figure out what's involved, I think that seems like a low lift. And I doubt, honestly, if the requirements are all that strenuous too. So I think, I mean, I would be in support of this one.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Fender?
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I'm just looking, went on Google, of course. Holly Springs is one, Cleveland County, Moore County, and Amherst County in Virginia. But I think it's a good idea. Of course, I would really like to see us be a certified B city,
I mean,
but I've been
that's not on
pushing
the
that,
list.
I know.
No,
And I know that Kimberly is working on it.
We're gonna do that in your honor on your last day.
Okay.
It was gonna be.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Councilmember Scotty Johnson?
So that was my question, is like, more about this kind of certification, how many communities in North Carolina, besides the one that you saw driving back from Asheville were, and what the requirements are. So you said, what, Holly Springs?
Holly Springs, Cleveland County, Moore County, and someplace in Virginia.
So that's interesting. So I would ask that as part of the exploration that staff, contacts Holly Springs and finds out a little bit more. And they're a bigger community. There might be some cost or, other opportunities to explore more. So, thank you.
I take that as you support it.
Yeah, I guess it's support. I mean, I would like to know a little bit more about it, but I think with having Holly Springs, it's going to be a lot easier for you to give us a better picture of what would be needed.
Councilmember Johnson?
So I'm not familiar with this program, so I'm not, I'm in favor of staff, looking at it, but I guess I want to make sure, sometimes programs are just programs. And I'm not saying, again, I know nothing about this particular organization or this certification. I want to make sure that if we do, and this would be not just for this ask, but any ask in this regard, if we're going to follow and put the effort into a certification of anything, I want to make sure that it really is of value to our community, to our businesses, or to whoever. and again, I don't know anything about this organization and the certification. So I like the idea of asking Holly Springs, is it really of value? Has it really helped the entrepreneurial environment in Holly Springs or not? And I would want to do a whole lot of homework up front before we enter into anything. And I agree with Councilmember Rabati. It looks like it probably is an easy lift, but maybe not. So I think that's going to be a big part of this, whether we move forward or not. So yes, in favor of staff giving us their recommendation on if it's of value or not to our community. So
And also, could you find out if there's some opportunity for maybe partnership with the chamber on this?
that's good. Good point.
Definitely. So I do hear support for directing staff to evaluate this, what it takes, what are others doing, specifically Holly Springs, and bringing some of that information back to council and including a staff recommendation as to whether this brings value to us or not.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay, well, that concludes the new items. The last one we have is from Councilmember Rao. He is not here. We also included, should be right here. Let me make this a little bigger. We also included the summary of the roundtable items that we've had pending. There are some updates that were provided to you. Is there any particular questions that you may have or any in particular that you would like to discuss?
I'm seeing none.
Sorry, I'm looking through them real quick, but
Nope. Okay, no problem. Well, if you end up having any questions, even after tonight, you can always let us know. We'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. We don't have a date for the next roundtable, but it definitely will be in the quarter of the first of the year, in the first quarter. And thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay, those were our public discussion items for this evening. At this time, I'd enter, is there anything for the good of the order, sir, before we go into closed session? Okay. I'd entertain a motion to enter closed session pursuant to NCGS, well, small print.
I make a motion that we enter into closed session pursuant to NCGS.
Oh, you need to put your mic on. Sorry.
I make a motion that we enter into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A6 to discuss a personnel matter.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'd also like to recognize that Mayor Pro Tem Garamella is now present and will be taking part in this vote. All those in favor of entering closed session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 6-0. We are now in closed session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Time for this one.